Welcome, my friends, to the inaugural episode of The Weekly Objective, a new show that will appear every Friday where I'll go over the week's news in the gaming and geek worlds. I'm your host, Brad Glasgow, and I scored 100% in the GTA San Andreas driving school with the keyboard and mouse. In gaming news this week, we'll talk about StarCraft, the Super Nintendo Mini, the new ESA Report, and more. At the end of the video, I'll talk to you a little more about this show and what my plans are, but for now, let's talk gaming news. The very well reviewed and received Persona 5 has come under a bit of controversy due to its localization from its native Japanese to English for the American market. There were articles on the requisite Polygon and Kotaku calling into question the translation, and a freelance editor, Connor Kramer, has set up an entire website dedicated to bitching about Persona's localization, called personaproblems.com. Some have called into question the motivations of this criticism, and question whether these translators complaining about Persona are doing so in order to promote their services. Others call it a non-controversy. The Polygon article, for example, was written by a translator who devoted 2 entire paragraphs to not liking the translated into English phrase, "it can't be helped," saying that it should have been, "looks like we don't have a choice." Questions have also been raised about why these same people didn't speak up when Fire Emblem was undergoing its localization controversy last year. I'm looking deeper into the story behind the criticism of Persona 5, and I'll update you when I learn more. Eurogamer reports that Nintendo is working on a Super Nintendo Mini, which will replace the now discontinued Nintendo Classic Mini. Citing sources close to Nintendo, Eurogamer's Tom Phillips reports that the Super Nintendo Mini will make its way to store shelves in time for Christmas. Many people speculated that the reason Nintendo discontinued the NES Mini was because they were working on a replacement, and they seem to be right. Whether any SNES Minis will actually be available, or if they'll only be sold directly to scalpers to place on eBay at ridiculous prices, remains to be seen. Nintendo itself declined to comment on the story, so we'll have to wait and see on their game lineup. So here's hoping we'll see classics such as Link to the Past, F-Zero, Star Fox, Chrono Trigger, and others. Let's also hope that it has a longer cord this time. In the never-ending soap opera that is games journalism, we had an entertaining little spat on Tuesday. It started when Jason Schreier of Kotaku wrote an article for Kotaku UK talking about the magic of Horizon Zero Dawn's technology, and how it's able to look so great because it doesn't render things that you don't see. A couple game developers laughed at this on Twitter and noted that this is called frustum culling, and it's something that every 3D video game ever made has done, and it's not at all unique to Horizon Zero Dawn. Ben Kuchera, senior opinion editor for Polygon, took exception to these developers for making fun of the article, and called them out on it in his own article. This angered Jason Schreier, who swore at Ben Kuchera, and went on NeoGAF of all places to voice his displeasure at creating unneeded drama. Ben Kuchera then blurred out the developers' names so that people wouldn't go after them. Video game journalism, like sands through the hourglass.
So are the days of our lives.
Tune in next week to discover if Ben Kuchera is really Jason Schreier's long-lost father, and whether Leigh Alexander will wake up from her long coma after being shot by Stephen Totilo. On Monday, John Bain, better known as TotalBiscuit, wrote a twit-longer about his ongoing health concerns. Unfortunately, they have found 2 small lesions on his liver, which means the, quote, curative goal of his previous surgery was unsuccessful. There is some debate among his doctors, but it looks like he may have to undergo chemotherapy again. I can only imagine how frustrating this is for John, and along with everyone else, I'm sending him my well wishes on a successful treatment. Get well, John. In games for cheap bastards like me news, the original StarCraft and its Brood War expansion are now free for both the PC and a beta version for Mac OS X. This promotion comes ahead of the release of StarCraft Remastered, which will bring updated graphics and 4K resolution to the nearly 20-year-old game. I've downloaded StarCraft and I've been playing it a little here and there, and it's still good fun. The game plays well on a modern system, but it's a little jarring playing without a widescreen format. Also, the cinematics don't look nearly as good as I remembered.
Hey Sarge, why we always gotta listen to this shit for anyway? 'Cause I'm in charge, that's why. Oh, it don't seem like no good kind of reason to me.
Still, it's one of those classic games that everyone should play once. StarCraft Remastered is slated for release this summer.
Looks like you mashed some poor fella's dog, Sarge.
The Entertainment Software Association published their annual report on Wednesday, called Essential Facts About the Computer and Video Game Industry. I just published a video where I talk about some of the serious issues with the report. The too long didn't watch version is that the ESA is claiming that 97% of American households own a computer. That number is way too high and conflicts with established research. This calls into question the trustworthiness of the entire ESA survey, so don't put too much stock in their numbers. Take a look at the video to learn more. That's the news for this week. Coming next week is another addition to Grand Theft Auto Online called Tiny Racers. This is a top-down racing mode with power-ups and weapons, and it looks really cool. It will be out on Tuesday. Also on Tuesday will be the just-announced Call of Duty World War II reveal. So it looks like it's going to be a busy week. Make sure to subscribe to the channel where we'll keep you up to date on all of the gaming news you need to know about. Now, as I promised earlier, I'd talk a little about this show at the end of the video, so here we go. This show will serve as the anchor for gaming coverage for Game Objective, and it replaces the podcast which we used to show on Mondays. As you can no doubt tell, there is a lot of work to do. I want to get a new logo for Game Objective, not to mention one for the Weekly Objective, and also I want to get some animation in here. For those of you who miss my so pretty face, you will get to see it at some point in the future when I get a decent webcam. When that happens, this show's format will change a little to look somewhat like a proper news broadcast, though it's always going to feature some full-screen video and graphics whenever possible. I also hope to have others contributing to the show with news clips of their own, as well as interviews and in-depth stories. The thought is to do a proper news magazine style show, and that's what I hope to improve into in the upcoming weeks. In order to improve, I will need your feedback, so let me know what works and what doesn't work. Comments are always appreciated, and I thank each and every one of you for being here with me on the ground floor of what will surely be a new media empire. This has been Brad Glasgow with your Weekly Objective. Thanks for watching.